And we're live. I'm here with Trey 50 Daniel. Apparently, he's a big fan of the 5 liter Mustang engines. Um, he's got it in his name. How you doing, man?
Going all right. Yeah, those guys, with the 5 liter Mustangs, they're always those kind of guys. It's like, oh, they're so pretentious about it.
Yeah. How you been, man?
Good.
How's it been? Down Alabama way. You know.
It's been wet. That's what it's
Yeah.
been. It's been wet down here. We get that we all we do is get rain. It feels like lately.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of rain up here in Tennessee too. Uh, Doing a lot of stuff around the house, the farm, and everything. So I think we were wanting to talk about like that whole tweet I sent you about the whole parenting thing.
Yeah,
Do you want to expand on that?
yeah. So there's like two camps, but I think that both camps like I'm not trying to be like a centrist fence center or anything like because I think that's stupid. But I
Yeah,
think that there's definitely like a nuance to parenting and to like children being raised. And basically, what I'm getting at is that there are a lot of people who are like actual trust fund babies that
yeah,
they grow up with the silver spoon in their mouth and they've never done anything in their life. And then there's other people who their mom and dad raise them right, do right by them, teach them how to work hard, and then they just give them money and resources and introduce them to people to be able for them to be successful, right? And I think those are two different kinds of things. People just equate like all of them both being the same, or people equate like people think that like only your only goal is to just work hard to like break your back, and if you break your back then you'll be successful. And that's not true in our world at all. We've seen people who do nothing and they become wildly successful.
yeah. I
And
come from the back breaking part of being successful. Like I think I've told you about my dad before. Um, Dropped out of school in 8th grade. Started doing construction, carpentry, and you eventually he became his own boss. He went into business
mhm,
for himself, um, and like things like that. Like I look back on, and like I think I took it for granted growing up, maybe,
mhm,
and like now, like I really, you know, he passed away a few years ago. I kind of some of the stuff he said to me, like as I was growing up, those things like really are digging in me now because
mhm.
I mean, old wisdom, like you're not gonna believe me now, but I'm gonna tell you something, like stuff like that. It's uh, it's weird, man.
Yeah, well, it is much like where I've run into now, where I find myself acting like my dad, and I didn't realize that that this is what he was going through, and this is why he was doing things and acting the way he was. So I
Yeah,
get it to an extent, but I also think like to me, I know where he fell short. I guess I'm learning from his mistakes, but also I'm still making some of my own mistakes.
same, same.
So it's a weird thing because it's like okay, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna just I'm not gonna not ever tell my son that I love him. Like every day, I'll wait,
Yeah,
every day, I love you, son. I give him a hug. Like I'm not gonna like do like my dad did and just like basically the only time be after I graduate college, like I'm proud of you, son. It's like okay, it means nothing now. Like that. No, I'm gonna tell him every time I'm proud of you, son. You did good, but I'm still
oh
gonna get
yeah.
on him and still gonna try to do
Well,
stuff. And then I have a problem. I get a little hot headed. You know, grew up
Well, me too.
red hair, so
I'm Irish, so
yeah, yeah,
I have a short temper too.
yeah. I think I got some Irish in me too. So, um, but yeah, it's like that. I get hot headed. I get heated. I get frustrated with him. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing is to let him know that regardless of how harsh I am on you, I'm on your team. Like what I'm here for is to get you to the next level,
Yeah,
and hopefully you're better than I am. That's the entire goal. Is they both of my boys. I want them to be better than what I am. Better versions of me. Hopefully.
that was. I mean, that's what was beat into me. Not beat. Well, sometimes maybe, but also
Well,
mentally,
mine was literally beast. Yeah, no.
physically
Yeah.
taught. Taught would be the non-physical, but yeah, that's what I got. Like, put in my head growing up too, and it's not a bad thing. Like like just this quest. I can't think of the word now, but like this like drive to like do better so your kids have better.
Mhm.
You know, but
Yeah.
you also don't want to make them pussies too either. You want to like let them have hardship. You want them to not suffer, but like experience adversity or adversarial things. That sounds smart. Not really, but anyway, I you want them to like have some issues, not issues, but like some obstacles to overcome growing up, and like you don't want to nerf the world for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Don't nerf the world for them, but like I think that if so if you think of it in like gaming terms like that, it's more of like you're you're optimizing you're giving them the optimized speedrun path. Like, okay, here's how to speedrun this game and get to where you need to be. Like if you can give them that, then instead of and they still have to go through it, right? Like they still
Right.
have to use like if I beat a speed run of something, like I still have to beat it or whatever, right? Like I still have to if I speed run it on legendary, like okay, this is you're gonna be playing on legendary. Like life is legendary difficulty. Like it's not. I mean, it's not even veteran. It's freaking legendary difficulty. Life that's just how life is.
Yeah. Are
And
you trying to say that the brick glitch in Mario Brothers is also kind of like a tax write-off or loophole?
I mean,
Because I'll teach
we
both of my
could
kids. I don't care. I'm just being
probably
silly.
could be. You probably could. You probably could find a way. Like I mean, people write off all kinds of stuff on taxes. So, but yeah, no, it's not about like you don't want to nerf the world, but you do want to give them a good basis to where like it's like playing a game that you don't know the rules and you don't know what you're going to encounter at all. Like you're not given a tutorial, you're not given any sort of basis to go off of, and then you're trying to play the game at the expert level. Like say say you're playing in a game like in pro Halo lobbies as a complete noob. You don't know anything about, none of the spawns. You don't know anything. You're just a complete noob, and you're getting steamrolled the entire time. Do you think that you're gonna have a fun experience playing that game? And do you think that you're gonna learn anything? Like, did you learn how to play the game? No, you didn't. But like whenever I played, so the reason Modern Warfare 2, is a video game. And this is sort of a tangent, but the reason that game is so etched in people's minds is because no matter how bad you sucked when you started playing it, no matter how many times you got nuked on, no matter how many times that people were better than you, when you played that game, eventually you could find out how okay, this is the strategy, this is the classes, this you could find out how to play, and then you would improve and you could get better, and then you would be the one nuking, and then you would be the one stomping on everything. That is the right kind of progression. and it shouldn't be like this constant of like, okay, I'm thrown into pro lobbies, and that's what a lot of people, myself included, felt like life was for a long period of time.
On a side note, like I feel it was easier to find community back then. Um,
Hmm.
like just playing like open lobbies now, or just
Yeah,
matchmaking or whatever. Yeah,
you're not gonna find anybody. No, nobody uses mics unless they're like sitting there with like they're
yeah,
playing mariachi band music.
yeah. It's it's so funny how like we have everyone playing online now and like the internet, and there's no connection to people. Like I mean, for goodness sakes, I met my wife playing World of Warcraft. Like back in the day, you could find a community online. You know, you can make connections to
Well, now they
people. You
have
could build friendships.
like the auto raid system and all this auto system, and
Yeah,
that ruins those kind of games because
it did.
they're designing them for people like myself who I don't really, I'm not into the MMO thing, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
not, that's not my stick. But they're designing it to, okay, well, if you don't want to have to build your raid group and build all this kind of stuff, we'll do it for you. We'll do an auto system or whatever, and have you where you can automatically do all that. The cost, though, is that the game no longer has that identity of community and being able to
There's
have
no
people
heart,
who, yeah.
no heart. Um, like that was the thing when Bungie went to make Destiny. I think maybe we talked about this, like you know, playing the game or whatever. But like when they got rid of Marty O'Donnell and
Hmm.
like they changed community managers and a lot of that stuff, like I feel like Bungie lost their soul.
Hmm.
And like that was a really tight knit community that I remember that I was part of back then. You know, I played oh what was their they made a first person game for Max, which was a big deal back in the day. And then Halo was originally going to be on a Mac, and then Microsoft bought them. Oh, what was it?
I
It
forget
wasn't.
what that one was.
It wasn't Mist. It started with an M, I believe. But like, they had this big, strong community for like years and years, where they actually responded to the fans, and you know, it was cool. And I just feel
Hmm.
like a lot of like the modern shit, especially like I think I've heard you talk about Overwatch before, like they fucking hate the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I don't know, man. It's
Well, it's like there was it was this whole thing of like, okay, we know better than the players, and they basically talk down like, we,
yeah.
no, they don't want any feedback from the players. They're just going to make the game. I mean, and to some degree I get that, like you want your game to be what you want it to be, but like when the people playing it are telling you like this is
Are you
a
quoting Neil Druckmann?
I mean, basically.
Fuck that guy. The first,
I mean, Jeff Kaplan's no different though. Like he was the
yeah,
same.
yeah, yeah,
He was the same pretty much. Like in my eyes, like the like he might have cared a little bit more because Jeff Kaplan did. Jeff Kaplan wanted a good game, but he didn't want the burden of a good game. I guess like because it does take like refining the game and it polishing like okay, well, we need to fix it to where it actually, if we're gonna play a balanced shooter game, it has to actually be balanced, not like always ping ponging or whatever, like trying
yeah.
to get shield meta and all this kind of stuff. Okay, well now shields are too strong, but okay, we're gonna nerf shields. We're gonna introduce a counter to shields and all this kind of stuff. Like you should have just made it one type of like experience and not try to like tweak everything and like, okay, well shields suck now, and all the tweaking that they were trying to do, and it was mostly for the pro community. It wasn't for casual players at all.
Well, there's a way you could do that for both.
Yeah, like have the
Maybe,
custom lobby. Well, I mean, they you could. There's a lot of games that have custom lobbies where you can configure a lot of different values. Like you just make that a value you configure in the custom lobby, and okay, well shields are going to be like 1.25x or something. I don't know. Like you
So
make it a modifier.
when Halo 2 came out, there was a glitch with the melee, and it basically was like hitting somebody with a wet noodle. It didn't do anything. Um, Bungie got on top of it. They're like, "Holy shit!" This is in like Xbox Live's early days. Like I've been playing online PC since the '90s, but
Hmm.
like for a
That's
console
like
game,
before that's before constant updates and all that. Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah.
Bungie released a patch, but they're like,
Basically like the first patch of any kind.
they knew how big lands were in tournaments and stuff like that. They're like, shit, we got to find a way to get that out there to the most people as quick as possible. So they released a disc with
Oh wow.
all the DLC maps.
Yeah.
So and they released it super cheap as far as like, buying a second disc for a console game in the early 2000s goes. But they released the disc. It had all the extra maps, but it also had the update to fix the melee glitch. And I mean, it goes back to the like, hey, they were kind of in touch with the community, but it what's the word? It catered to the casual and the pro side of the stuff,
Yeah.
and you got like a bunch of extra maps for super cheap without having to download them. You could just put the disc in and install it.
Yeah, now there are devs who are on there like, "Oh, let me charge you for patching my game." I was like, "Okay, why would I
I
why would I
know this
charge?
is
Why not
I
buy
know
the
I know it's a dead horse I'm beating, but wasn't there like a Marvel Capcom, or maybe it was a Street Fighter Capcom game where all the DLC was on the disc?
Oh god, I can't. I think it was Marvel Capcom.
One of the Capcom fighter games, all the DLC was like already installed on the disc. Uh, by you purchasing the DLC, you just unlock the content that was already on there.
That's how majority of the games are nowadays, though.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them already they may not have it in the game files yet, but they have like because that's why how a lot of people find out like what the next DLCs are going to be or whatever. Because it's like okay, well
Oh, like
they left files in here for
yeah.
like for it. So the smart people that are digging through the game files, they're like, oh, well, this says map pack 1 or something like that. Like well, that must be for the first DLC. So
Yeah.
uh,
Oh, we're gonna get Kirby in this DLC
yeah,
or whatever fighter game. I don't.
yeah,
Throwing it out there.
yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. Oh man.
But like
So what?
back on like what we were talking about though, it's like I think that there's there's a way you can manage the like I think the difficulty should be managed for kids. You shouldn't try to artificially inflate the difficulty because
No.
life is already going to be hard enough.
Yep.
But there are definitely parents who think that it's their job to inflate the difficulty, like my parents did. It's like, well, like life is hard, so we're just going to make it harder on you. And it's like, okay, well, now I can deal with anything. Like I'm strong. I'm freaking Atlas over here, right? I can lift the whole world on my freaking shoulders. It feels like, right?
Brag
But
about it.
I mean, they break like my back breaks or whatever. But I can lift the whole world. But it's like that's the kind of mental like weight, mental fortitude that you have now. But then e- even though that's the case, even though I can withstand anything, right? I can manage, I can be able to handle it. It doesn't mean that it's right to like artificially like make this world to now where it embitters a lot of these kids, and that's why I think a lot of these kids are turning to stuff like okay, well, I'm just going to be a socialist or I'm going to be this or that. Okay, it's because you artificially inflated that difficulty and you said that they're never going to they're not owed anything. Like you're not owed anything like at all. That's wrong. I don't I think kids are owed a lot. I'm not saying you should make everything
from
like
the
just
family.
from the family. From the
Yes.
family. The world is never going to give you anything.
Nope. The world
But
doesn't
your
give a shit
family,
about you.
yeah, but your family should certainly be in your corner. Like they should be supportive. They should should support you somewhat financially. They don't have to pay your bills for you. They need to give you a strong footing to start off on, and then tell you, okay, take this as far as you can take it. Do whatever you're gonna do. That is a good way to handle it. But there are a lot of families like mine where it's like, oh, you gotta work hard, boy. If you ain't working hard enough, and that's what my tweet was basically referencing. There are a lot of people who they're like sadists. They like enjoy people's pain. They think that like the more people that are suffering, the more people that are in pain, that are dealing with like the most difficult version of life possible. That it's that's the right way. That's the right way to live.
I think that was the tweet that got this whole topic started
Yeah,
off, right? Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, the whole like that's one thing I've been teaching my boys. Like if you want something, you gotta work for it. Nobody's gonna give you anything, but mom and dad, your grandmas, we're gonna be here for you,
Mhm.
but don't pussyfoot around. You gotta go out there and do something.
Right.
And
Well, you're not gonna do it for them. Like, you can't do it for them. Like, no matter how much you want to. Like, I can want everything for my son, but if he never does anything, then he's just never gonna do anything. That's I can give him something, but it doesn't mean he's gonna do anything with it or do the right things with it.
or even understand what you're trying to do for him.
Right.
There's like stuff my oldest has like there's like lessons I've taught him like 3 4 years ago that he's now actually dude, it's wild. Like you have young kids too.
Mhm.
It it's a mind fuck raising kids. It's so cool to watch them like grow and develop. But there's like stuff that like I've told him or taught him when he was younger that he'll like bring up again. I'm like, you remember that? He'll be like, yeah, you said this, so I did this. I'm like, all right, heck yeah, man, carry on.
Yeah.
It's wild, dude.
Yeah, it's
I
and then there's the other things like my son who like I'm trying to get him to where like okay when dad says something you say yes sir and you just do it and he's been on a thing of like well but I and it's like no buts like you just say yes sir and you do it and we've been
yeah,
working on this son it's like we've been working on this for like a year and a half already it's like you got to say yes sir and you got to do it like that's it like no arguing no nothing and I'll put him in timeout, and sometimes give him correction, but he's got to learn. Like it's yes sir, and do it. And nobody's going to give you like a break, like in the real world. Like nobody's like they're just going to be like, okay, well you didn't, so you're fired or whatever. And you know I think my crux of like my problem with a lot of the people who have the perspective of just like you work hard you're going to achieve something is that it not just that it's not true but there are people like like my dad like you know if you watch I assume you watched the video all, or most of it anyway I just like a long video but in that video I talk about my dad he's been a mechanic for let's see going on like 30 some odd years and he's literally the best mechanic in the shop bar none like everybody will tell you like yep he's the best he's the best mechanic in the shop and yet they've never offered him a shop manager position they've never done anything for him he's expendable to them the only utility he has is the utility that he can fix tractors. And okay, you could say, okay, that's partially on him. He should have just opened his own shop, or there's a lot of people who do that kind of stuff. They're just like, oh yeah, he should have just opened his own shop, and he should have, did all this, but none of that is guaranteed. There's nothing saying that if he had opened his own shop that it would do any better than an actual John Deere licensed shop. And how would he be able to get access to John Deere manuals? Those are all hurdles that he would have to do if
Yeah.
he were to do something like that. But he's just a mechanic of a tractor mechanic, and he's literally the best tractor mechanic in I would say probably in the country. I mean, I'll brag on my dad. He's probably the best tractor mechanic in the country,
Dude,
bar none.
that's a
And
skill.
I
Like,
mean, it is a skill, and yet nobody cares. Like, it doesn't matter. All they
yeah,
care about is well, even one of the guys was joking. I mean, I don't really find it funny, but like he's down in his
yeah,
back and like, oh, well, how long you gonna milk this for? It's like, okay, you're being a funny guy, but I don't know if that's really that funny. Um, when he's actually seriously in pain. I don't know. They don't care. Like it's not their no, like they don't, no skin off their nose, right? Like they're not dealing with it. He's the one dealing with it. He's in pain, and all they care about is he going to get better, and is he going to be back in work? And that's not the kind of world that I envision is a good kind of world to live
yeah. Like, dude, just being able to work on tractors, that's a huge skill. I mean, some might say it's a black market skill that would make you a lot of money if you know people, but maybe call up Dag. But
in. I mean, he'd do a lot of side jobs for people. Like he would go and he'd like, okay, I'll fix your tractor, off the clock, and they would pay him, whatever, like they'd pay him whatever his rate, and he didn't charge them hardly enough. I saw some, sometimes it's like
yeah,
you charged them just basically like a little more than parts, like not much, not even much for labor. But he
that's
was doing it because this
it's an
person,
honorable thing.
yeah.
Yeah, it's an honorable thing. Like, a lot of the business people, not business people, but people that my dad did business with. So my dad was a carpenter, framer, building houses, hotels, everything by trade. But on the weekends, back in the 80s, he was probably one of the best breeders and cockfighters in the country. Chicken fighting, right?
Yeah.
He also, like, he got out of it when I was born and had to, be more straight laced, straight on the straight and narrow. But he
Mhm.
got back into drag racing as I was like becoming a teenager. But like, he, even in those like, even in the cockfighting world or the drag race, world, and or construction. I mean, you run into like everybody of all walks of life.
Mhm.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I've driven a couple guys to work on a construction site, and I had to buy them a six pack of beer just so they could be able to operate the work.
Function.
And
Yeah, like here,
yeah,
like you gotta work this lift. And he's like, am I
yeah,
getting this? Am I
this
am I
dude's
getting
up on the
beer?
wall. This dude's
Mm,
up on a wall. Yeah, he's a little buzzed, but if he wasn't buzzed, he would fall off the wall or do something stupid. But
yeah,
since he's buzzed, this house is going to be square. We're going to frame it up right, all that shit.
yeah.
Um, like the cockfighting thing, like it's it's a strange thing. I have my reservations. There's pros and cons. I'm not fully against it. I'm not for it, but I don't
No.
know. It's a strange thing. But like, you meet all these like just weird people
Mhm.
through stuff your dad does, and like you kind of can see your dad do his thing, and then that's where like what you're saying about your dad about you know being square with people, being honest.
Mhm.
You see those types of things. I
Yeah.
mean, damn, my dad like was basically in the Sports Illustrated of cockfighting a couple
Yeah.
times. they still print those magazines. Most of them are in Spanish now because
Yeah,
that's
because
what
it's
we
all
did here,
Mexico. Yeah, it's all in Mexico.
Mexico and the Philippines. But
Oh,
I remember like people giving us gifts. Like I remember coming home and, oh, we got a peacock. Oh, we got a horse. Okay,
mhm,
you know it. You know, you do something nice for somebody, and they do something nice back.
mhm.
100%.
Like mutual respect. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you get that. Yeah,
But like
it
there's
just goes
there's
back to
none of that. Like there's none of that whenever it comes to like, okay, I go work for a big, I go work for a corporation or even some people who run, a small business, they run it like a big business. So it's just like, well,
yeah.
I'm just a number as long as I'm outputting the right stuff, that's all that they care about. And it's not about like, okay, this is an actual person that I've employed, and I want them the best for them. And either I want them to perform well while they're working for me, but I'm also going to do brat bomb. Like that's the whole perspective that you need to have. But it's a lot easier in business to kind of be a scumbag and just like do somebody dirty or not care, like because it's like, okay, well, he can't he like the best thing they could have done is said like, okay, here, um I guess I won't say my dad's name, just not that I really care, but like, hey buddy, like we're gonna pay 10,000 to help you with with your surgery and everything. We want you to feel better about yourself and get we want you to do well and get hopefully get back to helping us out here. And that would be something that would show that they actually care instead of nothing. I mean, I get that they can't do that for every single person, all the time. Like you can't just like shell out, 10 grand for this person, 10 grand for that person that's got to be out with the stuff he knows or something. I don't know. Like they would have to know. But he's been such a long time employee. He's been loyal. He never like he's not one that's bounced around companies. He's not done all this, and he's just proven to me that like it doesn't matter how much loyalty, it doesn't matter how much like what you how good you do by somebody, that at the end of the day, if you can't meet a quota and be the utility that they want, then you're literally expendable.
Well, also, if you work for like a bigger corporation, like I may or may not, I don't know. But anyway, um, the ESG shit is really
Mm,
starting to like pour into everything, and you start to, well, that what's the thing? You're not supposed to notice things. Not supposed to
mhm,
notice. You
yeah,
start noticing things
you
you're not
notice.
allowed. Yeah, it's
I just had to play
oh,
dumb when I was working for the big companies, or well, I worked government, job for a few years, and working for the government job. That
status.
what?
I'm being gay. I called you a statist. I'm joking.
Oh yeah, you know me. Like the
Yeah,
I love everything our federal government does.
yeah.
It's totally the best, absolutely the best federal government I've ever seen,
I
especially
just
under
want
Joe Biden.
I just want some Big Macs, man.
Look, if Joe Biden shows up here and brings Big Macs, I'm
He's not coming to Alabama.
fine. Maybe screw them Hicks. Like, oh Lord, but
Who knows it's not his base.
well, he knows he might be. It might not get a good welcome. Might not be a friendly
Yeah,
welcome. Probably have a few beers thrown at him.
yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh, get the hell out of here, Joe.
I derailed. That's my problem. I derail everything. I just make random comments that come out of my mind.
Yeah,
I pulled
but
you off your topic. I apologize.
no, you're good. But yeah, it's just like I guess I've seen too much of it to where people who work hard and they're loyal and they get screwed, because for of no reason, like it's not my dad's fault that he, went down in his back like this. There's no, like, there will be people though, if in the comments, like if you say something like that, oh well, like my dad, he's busted his butt, he's the best mechanic. Well, why didn't he do his own shop? Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? Those kind of people who they always have like a some sort of argument to like say
Yeah.
like, well, they shoulda, woulda, coulda, woulda, whatever.
And those
And
people have never actually been in that boat. They don't
mhm.
know. Like, I
It's
think,
like me. Like I would love to start my own company, right? Like I could do very well, I
yeah,
believe, in my own company. But the problem is how, okay, I have to analyze this seriously. If I'm seriously going to be able to make money and be able to provide for my family and actually and not have us starve, right? Like that's I don't want us to starve. I want the mortgage paid. Do I take this huge risk? And at my current stage, and this is why I think that giving your kids a little bit of something to start with is a good thing. And it's so that they can take this risk before they have the chance to be, they get married, they have all this stuff. So like if you've did competitive Halo stuff, right? Imagine if your old man was like, just like, okay, here, I'm gonna give you 20,000. I want you to literally just make that your career for now. And if you want to pursue that, you can try to pursue it. Go as far as you can with it, right? Like try to be a pro. If that's what you feel you're going for, go for it. Like take it to the best, the most that you can while you're young and while you can make this mistake. And if it fails, if you end up with nothing, okay, fine. You can go do something else, right? You still have the opportunity to be able to go and do something else as long as you've learned skills along the way, right? Now,
my
if
pops.
if you learn nothing along the way, then that's different. But if you had that opportunity, okay, well, take it as much as you can go. Do it to the most extent that you can, and then if it fails, you still have a chance to keep continuing with your life. Not like
Yeah,
where I'm at, where it's like, okay, if I take this risk, I need to have such a huge safety net to where that's why, like, basically, I've said, okay, if I hit $1 million, then I can even consider this idea. If I hit $1 million in the bank, then I can actually consider this idea, and I believe I can achieve that goal. It's just going to on a much longer timeline than it would be if I was younger. I could just say, okay, well, I've got all the time in the world, right? It's a differentiation of the time and the money and the risk and the mistakes that you're going to make and the lessons that you're going to learn
yeah.
there. I guess that's sort of my perspective on it is if your kids are younger, they can go for their absolute dream, and they can make mistakes and they can fail and then they can get back up and they can continue on. That is like a quintessential part of life. Like that, okay, you failed at your dream. That's fine. Get up and do something that you can actually do. Like get
Yeah.
productive. Do something you can actually do. But you tried. Like you didn't. You can't look at yourself in the mirror and be like, well, I could have been something, but I'm not. Like that's sort of the perspective that I have. It's like, okay, well, I could have been something, but I'm not. Like I'm just it's like my Facebook bio. I just put like husband, dad. Like that's pretty
He,
much
him.
he. he you know, gotta have the pronouns. Like people might start getting confused.
Confused. No, man. You're talking about like the investment and like in your kids. Like my pops did that for me. He let me stay at the house when I graduated high school, not paying rent. I got to come home to home cooked foods from my mom. But like the whole moving out was like my choice. I
Hmm.
wasn't pushed out, but I always had that safety net of a caring family to fall back on. You know, it happened once or twice, and it's weird, man. Like,
But you learned from those mistakes. Like you were able to fail, and that's why
and,
like
and
so
I felt like shit coming home with my tail between my legs.
yeah,
I'm gonna be honest.
yeah.
Go ahead.
But like so I've been going back, and I've like ever since I played the games, the Dark Souls games.
Yeah,
I really love that series. And there are a lot of people who talk about like it kind of helped their depression. Like it maybe didn't fix it, but it helped it. And I think it's a lot of it is because of the generation of kids that have been brought up kind of like myself, who were we were really sheltered from everything that life is, and we didn't get the opportunity to go for it, and we were just basically forced into failure, or forced into like mediocrity, I guess.
yeah,
And when you have something like a game that'll say, okay, well, this game is going to be incredibly hard, it's going to punish you, and then but yet you can beat every boss. Like you no matter how bad you think you suck at the game, too can beat the boss. Like you can conquer this, and then you can go to the next thing, and then you can beat the entire game going through this process, and it's a sandbox for failure. Okay, I died. Like I'm going to die in this game, but every time I'm going to respawn, I'm going to go back, I'm going to try it again, and we're going to beat that boss. It's like that meme that I shared is like beating, going to the boss like 159 times. Well, that 160th time you will actually win. But like life doesn't give you that kind of sandbox. Like life doesn't give you a sandbox to go, okay, fail, try again, fail, try again. Unless you do have a safety net, like if you do have a family who cares, and then they can let you fail and let you learn your lesson and then get back to it. Um, and then sometimes they don't want to do it too much because they know that you need to actually get out there and do something, which I completely understand. But it's you don't have to also make it like a permadeath mode. Like, okay, well, I mean, life is already permadeath. Like, yeah, not just like perma. Like, I don't know how to say it, but like, life is already permadeath. Like,
yeah,
you can't make it any harder than that, right? Like, if you screw up something and a boulder falls on your head, you're gone. Like, you're dead. Like, there's nothing harder than that, right? That's sort of the gist of what I'm getting at. You don't have to introduce more for them to have to deal with, to artificially like manufacture it and make it harder, just because you think that, like, oh well, my boy's got to be working hard at 18, he's going to be, he's going to have like three jobs, he's going to, you know do this grind, work son, work work work. And then he never learns anything else. All he learns is that, okay, I go to work, I come home, I pay the bills. I didn't learn anything about how life works at all. Like all I learned is I go to work, I come home, I pay bills, like, and hopefully keep the lights on.
yeah. The whole thing about the whole manufacturing hardships that I brought up. Um, there's like it's like finding ways to teach your boys to do things. Like I think I talked to you. I'm looking to build a chicken tractor. I don't
Mhm.
know if I brought it up on air or not, or if I brought it up
I
before.
think,
But
yeah.
um, my oldest has expressed interest in wanting to build things. So I'm like, all right, there we go. So I'm gonna try to teach him how to use tools, all that. And I mean that stuff's it's easy, but it's hard at the same time because if you don't get it squared or leveled off, then your final product's gonna look like crap or not function. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then like my youngest is like super into Legos, so he's building all this Lego stuff, but he also has expressed interest in like race cars and
Hmm.
car engines and things like that. Like you know, so I got two angles to go, like which way Western man, but like I
Yeah.
have with both my boys, I have
Well, and
boys.
you
But
gotta take them both to like their conclusion of like, okay, well, here's if you're interested in this, like, and they may stop like, okay, well, I'm not interested in that anymore, and then they may
right,
change, but like regardless, like your goal as a parent should be to go, okay, well, like you want to do this, let's take it to all the way to the furthest furthest you want to go. Like if you want to play like if you want to play the piano, I want to see you trying to be the best at playing the piano. Like you know, if you want to do this or do that, like you should want to be like the like maybe not the top. Like you should want to like really take it as far as you can. Though. Like, you know, you may not be the best piano player. Like you may just there may be some kid who you know grew up in China playing when he was 5, and he just may be the best piano player ever, right, or something like that. But and you can't beat that. But you know, if you can get it, you know, if you're in the top 10 or top 15 or wherever you can get to, like just take it all the way to the highest point. You know, if you can climb Mount Everest, climb it. If you can climb Mount Fuji, climb it. You know, it just doesn't matter how high the mountain is. Just like you should, they should want to try to make it to some,
attempt.
yeah, attempt it.
Yeah.
But
No.
that's the
No.
perspective that I have of it. Like just like if they and I guess like my oldest son, he still hasn't. I still don't know what he's gonna do. Like so, he hasn't really expressed interest in much of like anything that like individually. Like okay, well he likes video games, but like is he gonna be able to do something with that? Maybe down the line, but not right now, right? Like I couldn't show him anything right now or teach him anything at this point. I kind of have to wait on that. Like okay, well if he decides he wants to make games or he decides that he wants to be someone who is actually producing something for a game or something like that. Well, I'll never know. I'll never know if he's going to go down that route or something like that,
Yeah.
but you have to keep that in your mind and actually care about what they're wanting to do. It's like whenever I told my parents like, okay, well I'm changing majors, I'm going to go from biology to computer science. I don't want to be a doctor, screw that. I'm going to go work with computers because that's what I like to do and that's what I want to do for a living. And they were like, "Oh no, why? Why would you want to do that? You could have been a doctor." It's like, no, I couldn't. It's too expensive. I would have to take out 10 million loans. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna go for 4 years, and I'm gonna be able to make at least half of what a doctor makes, and I am. So it's like, well,
I took a different approach. My dad told me that college was a waste, and I'm stubborn and I wanted to rebel. I was like, I'm going to go to college. So I went for like a semester or a year and a half, so like 3 semesters. And I was like, yeah, this is a waste of money. And then I just like started working.
that's funny.
And then and now I'm looking back, I'm like, yeah, you're right, Dad. You had that one right. And maybe in my old age, I'm not too old, but I'm getting older. But some of the stuff that he told me, I was like starting to think now. I'm like, hey, he had it down. He had it down pat. I just was too young and dumb to listen to the wisdom he was passing down or trying to at least. But
Well,
yeah,
and see, I guess I have the opposite like perspective. Is like there are some things like that, like as far as like I guess more of just like oh well like I'm I'm trying to do my best by you, son, or something like that. Those kind of things, like okay, well, yeah, maybe he was like, but also there's stuff where it's like okay, all you had to do was be interested in in what I wanted to do and try to help me like do better. Like instead of sitting there and being like, oh, oh well, you need to do this or do that, and like, oh well, you ain't trying hard enough, boy, and you gotta work harder, boy. This and that. Okay, well, what do I need to work? And honestly, if I would go back and tell younger me, well, ask what do you need to do. Don't ask like no, don't like ask what exactly what can I do to work hard and improve to be better instead of just having this whole, well, just work hard, boy. You know, harder you work, boy, it's gonna be better. You know, and it's like, well,
I think it's healthy to have that chip on your shoulder to like want to do better than your dad. Like, I don't know, like if it I don't even want to bring in like fucking psychiatry and like the Oedipus Rex bullshit and all that
mhm,
Sigmund Freud
yeah,
jewelry, but you know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
There's
Oh
something
yeah,
about
yeah.
there's something
I took
about
psych. I took psych. Yeah. So.
there's something about wanting to outperform your dad to make him proud. Like that's like that
Mhm.
it's like something that chip you need on your shoulder. Like it's healthy to have that, but also, you gotta count your blessings when you can. Like, don't let it consume you. But I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's I think that's the problem is it like it started to for a long while it became instead of a chip it became like a boulder, and so it's like this is it'd be like Matt Jarbo or something. Boulder.
Watch
Uh,
out. He'll take it from you.
he'll take those boulders. But yeah, no, it was it became something to where it's like, okay, well, you know, even though I could already do better, it became like this self-destructive competition, like of, and I think that's where it isn't good. Like it should be okay. Like you ended up better off than your dad. Like that's fine, but like it's just like okay now no like that's not enough. Like I need to literally have them say like you were right, son. Like because it's I know that I was right. I was like prescient enough to understand what I was doing and what I was going about, but they were too shallow, like I guess shallow minded to understand, or they were thinking about it really in a small minded way, and that's not to like I'm not going to necessarily like insult them because I understand the apprehension, but it's just like, well, like if you had listened to me for 5 seconds, you would know that I have a reason for everything that I do, and that I've already thought through everything. I'm even when I was younger, like even when I'm going to college, when I was younger, I was not one to not think everything through. Like I thought everything through. I was very calculated. There's a reason I won the math bee whenever I was
I was a
younger.
retard. I just did whatever was fun. Personally, when I was that age, but you
Well, but you see how,
14.
but you see how like something like that. Okay, I'm doing everything by the book. I'm a goody two shows. I'm doing everything the best I can in by the book. I'm the most like straight laced, all this kind of stuff. And yet every time it's all about this like, well, you're not working hard enough, you're not doing enough, you need to do this, do that, and there's never like okay, well, like, good job you accomplishing this so far, like, okay, well, you need to, here's your next step. Like that's what parents are there for, guidance, like, relativity, to be there to like, okay,
Yeah.
dad, I got a problem, Dad. Like, I need your help. Like, I need to figure out what I'm gonna do. What am I gonna do, Dad? Am I gonna like, my son's gonna come to me one day, Dad? Should I, I got a scholarship. Should I go to college, or should I, do this? And I'm gonna sit down with him. I'm gonna say, son, well, we'll look at your options. Are you gonna go into something that you actually need college? All right. Well, maybe we'll see about getting you to college. And if not, well, you don't need to go to college. That's a big waste of money. So that's going to be exactly how I'm going to talk to them. Like, hey, if this is what you want, you're going to have to go to college, and you're going to need money, and and I don't care to, give you some of that, but you're gonna do your best, and then, hopefully you've got, if he's got a scholarship or something like that, if he actually does want to go and he actually needs to go, and I'm gonna tell him like, well, if you don't need to go, if you're gonna be a mechanic, or you're gonna be, this or that, you don't need to go to college, son. You just need to go maybe he does need to go technical college or something. Whatever it is, I'm gonna sit down with him. I'm gonna say, all right, here's your plan, son. Like if you want this, you got to go do this. Like, and then let him go do it. Like, not hold him back. Not sit there and like, well, oh, I don't know. Like, you need to just figure it out, son, for yourself. Like, okay, that's not helping him. That's not guiding him in any direction. Just to tell him, like, well, go figure it out on your own, boy. Like, well, like if you're never offering guidance, you're never talking, you're never like doing anything. It's completely useless to have a parent like that.
Yeah. I pray and hope that maybe I don't honestly don't know your parents and your dynamic. Like I hope that one day you have a moment like I did with my dad. Um, we were not close at all. We had a very tumultuous relationship growing up. We did not get along, and it wasn't until I moved to a different state that we became friends. And through that, we got to we had to talk on the phone because we couldn't see each other. You know,
Mhm.
so we started having like conversations, and man, dude, some of the conversations were a mind fuck to me because this was like shit that I never dreamed my dad would talk to me about. You know,
Yeah,
just like just and also my dad predicted Trump would get elected president before he died. That was
yeah,
fucking wild. My dad died in June of 2016.
mm,
He called that election. He also
mm.
called what was the other big so he called he would make these like bold predictions that I would just be like, whatever, Dad. But I think it was he predicted that Tim Duncan would be really good in the NBA when he was getting drafted, and he also predicted Ben Roethlisberger would be a good quarterback. And like,
If he'd have been a betting man on like on the betting stuff, he'd have been a multimillionaire.
yeah, yeah, like he's had these like bold like statements he's made, and I'm like, whatever. And then like Tim Duncan has like this fucking Hall of Fame career, and then like fucking Roethlisberger goes out there and wins Super Bowls, you know. And
Yeah,
then
I think like we you know having him my dad get hurt like even though it's not good for him, it did make me kind of rethink things of like, well,
but
even though
they see your kids regularly, right?
semi regularly, like they're
That's awesome.
it's
Like,
yeah.
hell yeah.
Yeah, and I never wanted it to get. I never wanted to sour the relationship. Like I would never. I would never. You know, I'm a loyal person, like a very loyal person. Like
Yeah.
so, um, no matter how stupid my brother is, I'm gonna do right by him. Like no matter how stupid that I think my parents are being, I'm gonna do right by him. Like I just think that that's fair and that's right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't believe that way. They would just say, "Well, screw them," and be done. No matter how mad I've gotten, I've never been one to be that way. It's just like, well, I'm gonna do right by them.
Yeah.
They raised me up until that point, and even though we have a lot of differences, like it's not something to basically to hate them over and be so mad about it. I can be frustrated with the situation that they basically left me in, but I don't have to make it to where it's something that breaks our bond, I guess.
Yeah. Don't make it personal, I
Yeah.
guess would be one way of saying it.
I mean,
Uh,
it's always going to be like that. Something like that's always going to be personal, but
yeah.
it's
Uh,
it's I don't have to make it I guess a sticking point. Okay, well, they I feel like they screwed me, and that can be just it. Like, okay, wipe my hands. That's it. They screwed me. Okay, I don't have to be mad about it all the time anymore. Like I can be done with just being mad about it because it didn't do anything for me. It does drive me a little bit. Does make push me forward some, but also it's kind of destructive. Because it doesn't. it doesn't do anything except for give me like a fuel. Like that's pretty much all it is. I used it as fuel to make it to here. Now what do I do? I need to actually solve problems. I need to raise these two boys, and that stuff requires more thoughtfulness and more in
Well, all that's coming from
understanding.
you. All the thoughtfulness, like the remembering how you were raised, your parents, all the whole dynamic. The best thing you can do is keep being successful at what you're doing and let them see their grandkids
Yeah.
because it will. They won't say it out loud. I'll be honest, because I have family too. They won't admit it out loud or even notice that like something's changing in their mind, but
Well, there
it's a big deal.
I have noticed a little bit. It's like, well, they're a little bit softer about things, and
Well, all grandparents are soft on the grandkids.
well, I mean, even towards me, like it's like, okay, well,
Oh, yeah.
it's a little bit softer towards me. It's like, well, you know, um, talking about stuff. It's like, well, I don't want to. Before they wouldn't care how much it was annoying me, how much it was bothering me, or whatever. Well, I don't want to bother you. I just want I just want to let you know, dad's we still hadn't found anything about him. Call me and tell me that kind of stuff. It's like, well, okay, thanks, mom. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, well, I don't need to lash out. It's like, well, it's
Yeah, I'm not some great philosopher, but like I've heard this saying before. I don't know where it came from, but it's like when you become a father, then people see you as a man. I'm
mhm,
probably butchering whatever quote that is, but like when I had kids, I noticed that dynamic with my dad, especially my mom, yeah, but especially my dad.
mhm.
Like he he started talking to me differently. The things he would ask about was different. It's a strange societal thing, you know.
Yeah, I get it because it's like that I noticed, like my mom would say, like, you're being a good dad, and I was like, what? Like, what? You never told me, like, oh, you're doing good, good at this or good at that. Like, she'd brag about like me to other people, like, which was weird. I thought it was kind of like, you know,
I'm used to
I
that from my dad. Like when he would talk about me when I was growing up, it was bragging about like my son can pronounce all these dinosaur names in Latin, and he can,
yeah, it's
you
like,
know,
well, my son won the spelling bee championship. Well,
yeah, yeah.
he won the math bee. It's like, okay, is that all? Is that all I can do? Like, I'm a person here, right here.
It's their
You can talk
their
to me too.
weird, it's their
Yeah,
weird fucked up way of showing their appreciation.
yeah,
It, I know it's easy to fucking rag on the boomers and like all the older generations, but like I like to come at it from like a different angle. I'm like, all right, I can see what you were trying to do there. Maybe I'm a little bit more lenient and forgiving. I don't know. Maybe whatever.
I mean, I think you had a generation before them though that was
The
that
greatest ever.
yeah. I mean the greatest generation, right?
Yeah,
um but they had an understanding of the old world, and they did pass on, or as far as I know they tried to pass on, but the boomers are just like so resistant, or they took it to like an extreme level, like they didn't understand the lesson that they were being taught, and yet they still like they went full on like with it. I don't know how to explain it. Like they took the like extreme level of
yeah.
like it
And
like,
fast
well,
forward, fast forward to now. Tom Selleck is trying to trick old people into reverse mortgaging their house and getting a RV. You know,
yeah, yeah. Like,
don't
here, you do.
don't leave anything to your kids. Get an RV, travel the country, reverse mortgage your house. We'll we'll take it back when you can't afford it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's and that's the thing is like, okay, well, you need to pass something down to the next generation, like, money, houses, things, all kinds of stuff. Like
Generational wealth, from what from what I think, like generational wealth is like the way to make your family successful.
yeah.
Like keeping like the old, grandma and granddad's house, keeping hold of that, keeping hold of property,
Hmm.
passing it down, finding ways to do that. That is the way
To
it,
win. Yeah, yeah.
to win. Yeah. In a small way. I mean, obviously
Mm.
we're not gonna win in a big way, but like,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
still,
any win is a win. I think, like in this case, like
yeah.
it's like, you know we we're gonna get you know we're gonna get part of the land that my wife's granddaddy owns. He has like 10 or 12 acres or something like that. We're gonna get, or maybe even 15. I can't remember. Like, we're gonna get part of that. Like, all that's designed to, like, okay, well, get divvy this out among the kids and grandkids and all this kind of stuff. And that's where we lived on our in our trailer when we first got married. It's like, well, the that was part of, like, his plan of, like, well, I want to give this to the kids and grandkids and
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff, but I don't want
Yeah.
this to go to some no name and be sold off.
Yeah, that was something my dad was always talking about. And like it's funny, like my wife, so I'm like I don't know, I guess I'm like Scotch Irish, mostly Irish. I have some like German and English and French too. But like I guess the whole Irish thing around holidays is like you talk about those that have died to
Hmm.
remember them. So like my wife, who I think I told you she's like part Korean, she came down to visit for the first time. We were dating with my family for the holidays, and she was afterwards. She was like, "This is the most depressing like Christmas I've ever had." I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "All you talked about is everybody in your family that
Yeah, we
died."
lost. Yeah, like, we lost Joe, we lost Betsy,
Yeah,
we
I was like,
lost.
"But I like that story about my uncle Andy." you know,
It's like, yeah,
it's
we lost Uncle Eddie. Remember he would do this, or yeah, stuff like
yeah,
that.
but oh shit, I forgot where I was going with that point. What were you talking about before? We're talking about
Well,
generational.
generational wealth, yeah, like passing
Yeah.
on the land and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, my pops, my dad. So, like, one thing my dad always talked about was, he was always trying to build something. Like, he wanted me to take over his company, and I was rebellious. We had a rough relationship. I was like, I'm out when I'm 18. I'm done. And then obviously the whole housing market crash back in '08, and he was building houses and construction and all, but he kind of had to take an early retirement. But like I I understand where he was coming from now, obviously, like years later as an adult and as a man that like is now trying to build a legacy for myself and my boys. And I'm doing it on a small scale. I'm just, we got a farm with several acres. We're planting fruit trees that aren't going to bear fruit for years, but something I want to leave to my kids.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, that's where that's generational wealth. Give your, something for the family to keep in the family, I guess.
yeah. Well, it's not just like it's not just money. It's not just land. It's not just this. It's a combination of all these things. It's you pass
And
down your
culture.
land
There's culture in
and
that too.
culture. Yeah, yeah. You gotta have you pass down the culture. You teach them what your culture is. You pass down the land. You pass down money to them, and with all that, hopefully that and you pass down wisdom. All of those things combine to, like, make the next generation better, instead of just like, well, go on, get, boy, like, you gotta go do it on your own, boy, make your own way. That's
Yeah.
that's the like antithesis of that. Like, okay, well, you just wanted to destroy everything, or you didn't care how it affected the next generation. You don't care, you know
Yeah.
because
That's what a lot of the boomers I feel have done. They've either willingly or been tricked into just basically giving the middle finger to the generations to come. Where
well, that's why I like the Substack piece that I titled is like the big lie. They were basically told like, okay, you kick your kids out at 18, to get them to go get a mortgage for a house, or get a rent a house, so
yeah,
that way the housing market is inflated, and so the housing market stays alive, because we have, okay, oh, we have all these new houses that were just built, we got to fill them, we have renters who need tenants, all that economy is a big deal. Guess what we can do? Kick your kids out at 18, screw them, say like, hey, screw with them, say, hey, no, you don't deserve anything, I won't give you a dime, and then wonder why they don't succeed, and they need to just be working 50 years at the same company for you know nothing.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, man. It's wild. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Like I think I've told
see
you this like a couple times. Go ahead.
I'm like a cynical person though when it comes to that, like I guess,
I'm
like,
I am very cynical unless I'm around other cynics or my kids, and then I become like the most white pill person ever. It's so whenever you tell me a cynical story, I'm like, well, Trey, there might be donuts at the end of the path. I don't know. I'm
uh,
just, yeah.
we could see the rainbow in the pot of gold one day.
I'm just playing to the room. I'm reading the room,
Yeah.
playing to the audience. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, what were you saying? I apologize.
No, I mean, I don't even remember what I said. It's just like that's the well, oh man, I lost it. Completely lost it.
Yeah,
What were we even talking? It's like, oh man.
we're making fun of boomers, and I don't know, man. Who are we? Where are we, man? I don't know.
See, like I'm definitely like, I understand a lot of it, but I do think that they were lied to, and that
Yeah,
they thought that they were doing the right thing, but I think that they bought into the propaganda that was sold to them, and they never reconciled with the fact that they were lied to. I think what's one thing that's interesting about like the current day, that I think that I don't think we've had happen a lot, is that the current like generation, a lot of them can reconcile when they've been lied to. Like, I mean, now some of the NPCs, some of the older people who have already been pre-programmed, they're
yeah,
already, good to go. They're not going to be able to like they're not going to be able to turn it, off, that like, oh, COVID is a big deal. They're not going to be able to reconcile with the fact like, okay, I was lied to, everything I was taught is wrong, and this is what the media and all these corporations and all these people have done to me, and they've lied to me. But some of the younger generations, I think that they're easier to like, see that and be like, oh, well, like, COVID, they lied to us, or some about some of this stuff, and they can reconcile with that, like, okay, I made a bad judgment based on what I was seeing and the propaganda that was fed to me. So now I'm adjusting it. It's almost like they're adjusting their mental model of like, okay, well, do I trust the media anymore? No, I don't, because they lied to me. Like, and that's something that like the boomers, they may hate the media just for existing, but they don't adjust their mental model. Okay, what else was a lie? What else is a mistruth? What else
right,
was, like,
yeah,
they can't do that next level thinking of just like, well, did you lie to me about to kick my son out at 18 to screw with him? Like, is that why that he can't succeed? Or they're
you also got to think they grew up without the internet. Like I'm a little bit older than you, so I kind of existed in that like weird like childhood of like, hey, there's no internet, and then it's like, bam, there the world's at your fingertips.
yeah.
So
See, I
I
was
have
like I was like right at the edges, like, okay, internet's just starting. and then like boom, internet. Like so,
Yeah. So I feel like I have a foot in both worlds, but like the people you're talking about, like they wouldn't know to go online and look for other sources.
yeah,
Like if it's not on TV or the radio, they don't listen to podcasts.
yeah.
And if they do, it's
It's
you
Joe Rogan or something,
know, or Fox
and he,
Nation or something like
yeah,
that. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Tucker. He, does a lot of cool shit. Yeah, he's one of the, you know, elites, I guess you would say, but that's about the only like mainstream media person I will actually like watch these days. But and you got to take everything with a grain of salt, grain of salt. But there was a what was that Clint Eastwood quote that I was thinking of that he told his son. He's
oh, I
like,
think you didn't you post that one, or was it somebody else that
I
posted that
think
one?
I may have posted it.
Let me
Don't
see.
believe anything you hear and only believe half of what you see. Is the
Yeah,
quote I'm thinking of. Yeah,
yeah.
and like this older generation, they don't, which is
They don't
funny
have a
because
concept of that.
right, which is funny because Clint's from that generation, but I don't know. I mean, the guy's in Hollywood, but he lives out in rural California. Kept his family out of that whole, Hollywood thing when he raised his kids. I know Scott, his son, has been in movies, but like his other kids are just like, yeah, we were never part of that world. Really, we had a normal childhood. Wow, I really took that off on a tangent out of left field. I do that. I derail like chemical trains in Ohio do. But hell yeah, dude. Probably gonna wrap this up. So, what were your thoughts on RoboCop? Did you enjoy that movie? Because I think that's what we were originally supposed to talk about.
Well, we can save most of that discussion because I can talk like
I'm joking. We'll have to save it for another night, bud.
yeah,
Hell
but
yeah,
yeah,
dude. All right,
RoboCop is is a great movie.
it
That
is.
and then I went back and watched Demolition Man. I was like, oh man,
Dude, I
these are
just talked a coworker into watching that, and he's like, "Dude, you're right. That movie's fucking amazing." I'm like, "I told you, love that movie."
yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. You want to give plugs, or you just want to like cold out, or do an Irish goodbye where I just turn it off?
Do the Irish goodbye.
Hell yeah.